After we gathered up the living jackals, we started offing them one by one until I get PM'd by Conrad. One of them is a new player. I checked the post logs and it turns out that it wasn't a mod with the jackals after all. It was a new player who was playing as a jackal. The fucking jackal sniper. Guy pretty much was using the gas station as an outpost to raid caravans and attack travelers. Decently edgy character page, but the kid still tried fucking with us. We get to him eventually and he starts begging for his life. Please don't kill me. I'll do anything you want me to. I be your fucking slave, just don't kill me. Kid asks for a speech roll. Pfft, yeah, sure, faggot. He fucking rolls a critical success. Well, I guess you're too young to kill, but you're still gonna pay fucking big time for fucking with us. Volp and Conrad and kecking at me in the PMs. Basically, the kid lost all of his NPC companions, so he wanted to join up with us for a while. Kid has no clue that we are the target of every edgelord in this roleplay. PM the kid and tell him this. Response is gold. Either I get beaten to death by an Aryan today or shot by a ranger tomorrow. I'll take my chances. After we untie the kid and give him back his rifle, we see to it that the recruit and the Igor are fixed up enough for travel. So Conrad, what happened? As soon as the message went through, we started hearing gunshots. Jackal kid pipes in. We just call him Jackal, by the way. He fucking started shooting us with his laser gun. When he ran out of ammo, he rushed us with a big fucking hammer. What the fuck, Conrad? Where'd you get a hammer? A long silence. I found it in the garage. Did you drop it or something? Why would you fight a bunch of guys barehanded if you had a hammer? Jackal spouts off all pissy. Because when he got to around his third swing, he hit one of the pumps and broke it. Look around at the pumps. Conrad had been swinging a big sledgehammer at the guys. When he broke it, he didn't break the handle or simply knock the head loose. He shattered the metal head of the sledgehammer. How the fuck do you even do that, Conrad? Long pause. Adrenaline? My face when Conrad is Thor. After Jackal came on board, we started talking a lot in PMs. Now that we were a group of 4 players, and I had been actively recruiting people, people were fucking all over the ook. If we were gonna plan out some strategies, we couldn't talk about it between our characters in game. The edgelords were obviously fine with metagaming, and it made no difference to them whether or not we weren't really bad guys. After a 2 IRL day deliberation, we decided that if we could stand a chance against the lynch mob and their NPC compatriots, we would have to call in the cavalry. We would have to call in the Enclave. We PM'd the GM and he was fine with it if we reasonably found a way to communicate with the nearest Enclave base. For that, we would have to find a radio station, commandeer it, and initiate a broadcast to the Enclave. It doesn't sound too hard, but there are only a few different radio stations in the Mojave, the most prominent being the one at the Strip. That was a no-go from the get-go. There were enough NCR NPCs to fuck us back into our mom's wombs. Also, I was positive that a few boss fags were up there monologuing with the Silver Rush NPCs. The only other high-powered radio station in the Mojave was Black Mountain Radio Station. Both Volp and Jackal confirmed that the station had been taken over by a group of super mutants. But Jackal told us about the trailer he and his fellow raiders had used at an emergency outpost. Apparently, it had been some sort of weird ham radio setup made to listen in on and transmit messages at long ranges. You fucking what, mate? Cola of the Nuka variety? I decided to say fuck it and head up there. We call it Lone Wolf Radio. Kinda has that weird aura to it. Conrad has no chill. Were you high when you made up that stupid aura shit? We hike up to the trailer and find a truly weird setup. 3 high-powered radio beacons, 4 ham radios, and more broken hand radios than time Richardson spends picking people out of his teeth. People are chewy. What in the fuck were you Kimheads doing up here? Jackal just rubs his neck. You killed the guy who was up here, didn't you? Conrad doesn't even wait to punch the shit out of the kid. At this point, we begin role-playing that Jackal was just a lost kid who needed guidance. Like an antisocial little brother you have to beat faggot out of. This equipment is in really good condition, but these beacons aren't really for sending messages as much as they are for receiving long-distance transmissions. Conrad steps forward and eyes the shit like he knows what it is. Maybe it belonged to a Chinese spy. Volp is just as confused as Conrad at this point because he's outside seeing what he can do to make the generator explode. Succeed, he does not. I don't think it was the Chinese, Conrad. It was probably an NCR or Brotherhood of Steel listening post. I've seen a few before, yet never with this much pristine shit. We go back and forth about how the boss rarely had any sort of ability to face the NCR in open combat, so they reverted to weak subversion tactics, such as counterintelligence listening posts. Such as this one. Eventually, I decide I'll try seeing what I can do with the setup. See if I can get any type of long-range signal out. Roll for science. Should be easy. Fucking critical fail. After a few presses of buttons and taps on the PTT button, the entire ham radio setup begins shorting out. Roll for speed. Roll a 16. Disconnect the ham radios from the radio beacons. Inspect the ham radios. They're all fucking ruined. Check the beacons. One is damaged, but the other 2 are fine. God fucking damn it! Freak out for a few minutes, smash the hell out of the ham radios, and even start shooting them. Eventually give them to the Legion recruits so they can make spearheads out of the metal. So what are we gonna do now? I'm guessing we can't use this stuff. We would have to get some more ham radios. I see now why it all shorted out. The ham radios had such little room for the beacons' relay power on their circuit boards that the person who set this up had to have more than one ham radio and countless shitty radios he could burn through, per broadcast or relay. We stand around talking shit about shitty radio setup until it hits me that I don't need a ham radio for the relay or broadcast. I just need something with enough processing power to make sure the output of the beacons wouldn't overload the input of the radios. By Enclave standards, I would only need a few standard CPUs. By Wasteland standards, I would need a fucking gigantic supercomputer. Light bulb. SentryBots had military-grade CPUs. If I could use 1 or 2 of them, I could use them to temporarily begin and end a broadcast before shorting them and the radios out. Of course, this was all bullshit I was making up for the roleplay, so I would have a reason to go down to Prim and use Eddie as the processing machine for the radio setup. After all, Eddies were made for infiltration and propaganda, meaning they could receive and send radio signals of what they hear in the wasteland. An Enclave-made robot had more than enough processing power to do what I needed it to. I've decided we need to head toward the nearest town and start looking for military-grade circuit boards. They'll have the hardware I need to process the beacon's information without absolutely frying our equipment. My character pauses to look at Volt. Where's the nearest town that might have what we're looking for? Volt walks over and starts looking over my Pip-Boy map when he accidentally hits the volume on its radio. Folks, let me put on my newsman fedora here. Because boy do I got a crazy story for you. I've gotten witness reports of Enclave soldiers in a little old town called Bonnie Springs. The GM had stepped into our little navigation roleplay with a Mojave-wide message about us. He was letting all the people know in-character info so they wouldn't be metagaming if they knew about us. Apparently, in the town's greatest hour of need, these soldiers fortified it and fended off an army of, vipers. We've all heard stories about these guys, folks. In character, me and the boys are fuck-yang at this point. Richardson is scratching his ass. If you don't know about the Enclave, they claim to be the last remnants of the United States government. For a long time, they kept to themselves, and when they came out, they weren't so friendly. But folks, you heard it from me first. And as surprised as I am, it seems what I was told is factual. The Enclave is, for a fact, in the Mojave. Whether or not this was a single act of kindness, or the Enclave has turned a new leaf, has yet to be discovered. If I hear anything, I'll be telling you first. Let's get back to the records. This next song is from me to you. Well, shit. The whole Mojave knew we were here and knew where to start looking for us. Now they didn't have to metagame. Peter, they're gonna start coming after us with everything they've got. An army. What are we gonna do? We will have to outsmart the bastards at every turn and build an army of our own. I turned to the NPCs and pretty much did the whole "you're the beginning of something great" speech. In reality, I knew most of them would die, if not all of them. Staying in the mountains was a no-go if we were going to set up some sort of fortifications, and at the moment we had no strategy for outplaying the lynch mob. So our goals went like this: recruit wastelanders, get somewhere with enough walls to fend off a lynch mob attack, even for just a little while, get the Eddie from Prim and activate the radio beacons, get a message to the Enclave. It took a few hours to rig up the beacons on wheels, but once we did, the Igor started pulling the 200 pounds of equipment while we made our way down to Prim. When we arrived a day later, we found that Prim was occupied by two groups. Outside the town was a platoon of disgruntled NCR troopers. In the town were a branch-off group of powdergangers. All the fucking players in this roleplay neglected to do the first thing you're supposed to do when you leave Goodsprings. Fucking lazy faggots. Me, Conrad, and Jackal are going into Prim while we leave Volt with the troops and Richardson. We make our way down the road until we come across a few troopers on duty. Where are you boys headed from? Oh, we just came south of Goodsprings. You heard anything about them Enclave? Nope.png. Alright, well if you hear anything, let us know.